Marvellous day. New bike, fast as fuck. Not too sure about the colour though. I would have preferred silver or black. Maybe even yellow. Or red and white. Mint condition when I bought it. I'm going to change the end can. The Two Brothers exhaust. They sound nice and a deep sound. Safer when you're filtering. Bagster tank cover for my luggage. Apparently all modern day sports bikes these days have single filament bulbs, so it means that you're just going to have the dip or the low beam and then the high beam, but I'm going to change that for dual filament bulbs so I can have both on at the same time. It's a bit of an arse around with the wiring to do that, but there's a kind fellow who's already done it online and he's posted how to do it, so I'm either going to do that or just get HID kit for it, which will make it a lot brighter anyway. It'll be like lasers. And that's about it. I'm going to keep everything else standard. It's really very good, fast, comfortable. I think it's slightly smaller than the SV. It feels smaller. It feels more compact. It's slightly wider because of the inline 4 rather than the V2 V-twin engine. One thing I'm really liking about this is it's got 180 width tyre, which the SV only had 160 in. You know, anything when you were trying to throw it around corners, which the SV was very good at, but it made you have to work at it a wee bit, you know. Maybe it was just the way I had this suspension set up or something, because I do a lot of dual carriageway riding, which means that the middle of the tyre gets more flat than the sides, and so with the SV I used to have to adjust the rear suspension to compensate for that when the tyre got worn in the middle, and then you would have this kind of edge where when you were leaning over it would kick the bike, you know. It was a horrible feeling, but like I said, I adjusted the preload right up to it to accommodate that, and the bike didn't handle like it should around corners. But this one, with the 180 width tyre, you know, you can really throw it around the corners, and you don't even have to do much leaning. Maybe it's because of the angle or something, you know. It's very good at everything it does, and I'm very, very happy with it. Everybody should own one of these. I wouldn't say it's a beginner's bike though, unless you get it restricted, because I think it's about 108 horsepower or something like this, and when you're over 7,000 revs, it goes up to 17,000, but when you get past 7,000 revs, it really, the power kicks in, and it has this bit of a roar to the engine, and then past 11,000 revs, it really flies. It's like a Formula One car or something, and it sounds almost like, maybe it's just a stock exhaust, but it sounds like another engine kicks in at 11,000 revs. I'm gonna have to find out what that sound is. I mean, it's a good sound, you know, but I'm just not, I don't know what it is, so it could be something that's maybe to do with the injectors or something. These are big air injectors at the front there, which helps the fuel injection. I was going to say carburetors, but it hasn't got carbs. This is a fuel injected bike, you know, which makes it very responsive and good on the fuel if you're not twisting the throttle. This is Scotland in the winter, about the 10th of February, I think it is, something thereabouts. And it's pretty cold, so I'm having to wrap up in lots of layers and stuff. But it's quite a good day today. It's clear visibility. I'm on my way from Dundee to Perth. We've just stopped here in Cupar. Cupar Angus. I'm just going to have a cigarette and have a drink and then piss off to Perth. I'm filming on a 170 degree angled, wide angled spy glasses with I've taken the visors out of it because they were just too dark. They came from China, so I guess it's for a very sunny, hot climate. I've got my visor on the helmet anyway. I just bought them anyway for the camera. I was using an iPhone on the SV, which was tucked in the map holder on top of the tank. This like see-through plastic where I tilted the camera up so you could see over the bike's visor, and then tilt around the other way, you'd see my head bopping up and down. But that wasn't a good camera setup. Well, neither is this really. It's better quality, and you get a good POV from them. But I think in the long run I'm going to go for one of those helmet cameras, probably a GoPro or something like this. And then I'll have to figure out what to do with the mic. I think with the GoPros you have to have an external mic, which kind of will probably be on a wire attached to it, which is going down your back or something like this, because if the mic is at the front of the camera, then there can be a lot of wind distortion, and you won't be able to hear anything at high speeds. So the CBR, this is a 2003 model, but I believe they didn't change this shape and everything until about 2011 or something like that, maybe even 2013. I'm not sure. I don't really know that much. This bike came to me in a bit of a rush kind of thing. Within a week of seeing it and inquiring about it, I had it, and it was, like I said, nice shiny things like that don't happen to me in such a rush. The SV was on its last legs. I'd put 25,000 miles on it since March. That's under a year, up and down the road to work. And the bike was tired, you know. So it got sold for £1 per cc. And I put the deposit on this and got it.
this is like a dual purpose bike. You can tour on it comfortably. I've not done, I do 140 miles in a day going to work. That's not every day, sometimes it is. Mostly it's not, because I stay up there throughout the week, but it's comfortable enough for that journey anyway, and you can have some fun on it, you know. I wanted the VFR, you see. I think it's slightly bigger and more set up for touring, but I'm happy, very happy with this. Fully adjustable suspension, which I haven't played around with yet. I haven't felt the need to, because it seems set up perfectly. Maybe in the summer, when I start to do a bit of sporty riding and technical corners and things like this, and once I've known the bike for a wee while, I'll know how to set it up, the suspension, correctly, and see if I can get any improvement on the handling, which is already razor sharp. It's got a 17-litre tank, which will do 140 miles average, but if you're going a bit fast on it, then you know you won't get that. You'll get maybe 90. It's got a Scott oiler attached to this one at the back, which is all piped in and whatnot, straight down to the chain. So it's self-lubing, and that's one job that I don't have to do anymore. I just have to top up the Scott oiler. I don't know the frequency at which I have to top that up yet. It's not used much. I think it's just a drip system. The chain looks nice and lubed anyway, so I don't think I need to increase that. It's got a centre stand as well, which is really handy, because on other bikes, if you don't have one, you have to use a paddock stand to clean the wheel, to do anything with the chain. So it's dead handy having one of those if you're at the side of the road or something, you know. If you're not always going back to home base where all your tools are and stuff like this, which I'm not. Brakes are really good on it as well. The rear brake isn't that sharp. I don't think it's supposed to be anyway, but there's quite a lot of, I've noticed in the last couple of days, I'm pressing down on it and it doesn't really do much, although they're supposed to be very good. Maybe I've contaminated the brakes with some polish or something, or some ACF 50. You rely more on the front brakes anyway, which are very good. And you know, I've not had to grab at them yet. You know, there's not been a situation where I've had to really brake hard. Usually I just come down the gears, and this bike has got a bit of engine braking, not the same as the SV, which would lock the rear wheel if you came down too quickly, but this one, it has a nice kind of balance of everything. It's a bit lacking in the mid-range. Sometimes I find there's a flat spot, but you can kind of cure that by just dropping down a gear. You know, you are changing gears a lot more on this bike than twins. But you know, I don't mind doing that. It makes your legs more active anyway, and then you get the blood flowing, because like on the SV, my legs would go dead a lot, you know, by not having to do anything, not having to use the gears as much, not having to use the the rear brake as much, so my legs would just go dead, and I would have to stop constantly and walk around for a bit to relieve the pain. There's one other thing I would say about this is, because it's more sporty bike, you're leaning over more, and that's not too uncomfortable, but you have to remember to lift yourself off of the handlebars once in a while, because I don't like putting all my weight on the handlebars, not only because it's painful on the wrist, but you don't have that same reaction with the handlebars if you've got all the weight on it. I like to have my arms nice and light, where I've got that reaction if I need to. It just feels safer. So what I do is push myself into the tank as much as I can and get my back a bit more straight. I'm not sure what it's like for smaller people, but I'm about 6'1" or something like this, and it's okay for me. Mirrors also are a bit. They don't wobble around. They're very secure. So I think a lot of bikes, you look in your mirrors and it's just all you see is this kind of distortion because of the vibration of the bike, or because the aftermarket mirrors are just so flimsy. But these are nice and solid because they're original mirrors on the bike and nice and secure, made by Honda. But they don't seem to be wide enough. When I'm looking in the mirror, I have to kind of tilt my head across to be able to see anything behind me, and I've tried pushing them forward a wee bit and kind of angling them so I can see better out the back, but they're not as good as I would hope. So I have to kind of watch more what I'm doing, be more aware by doing my lifesavers and things like this, as being a situation already. I've had this bike about 2 weeks, and there's been a situation where I looked in my mirror, in my right hand side mirror. I was trying to change over lanes. It was all fairly low speed stuff, and there was a car right next to me which I didn't. Luckily, I'd looked across and it was right there, and so I'd stopped myself and crashed into him. But that's the kind of situation what happens with mirrors that don't give you the full visibility, or if you don't do your checks before you change lanes and stuff like this. It could have been not an end for me, but maybe an end for the bike, because it would have just been written off going down the road at 20 miles an hour or something, it'd scratch everything. It would just be a write-off, I think. Very clean. Very little corrosion on the bike yet, and I hope to keep it that way, but the Scottish weather is pretty shitey on bikes, with all of the salt on the roads, all of the rain. The rain is fairly welcome when the bike is just parked outside the house, because it will wash it down a wee bit, but when you're out on the road and all of the surface water off of the road is being whipped up by the tyres and by other cars in front of you and stuff like this, which is full of the road salt, and that's what corrodes all your bike. It gets into everywhere it goes. It's not just the splatter, but it's in the actual air, and it goes underneath in the tanks, in the electrics, everything, and just can corrode if you don't keep a check on it. And that has to be, biking in Scotland is half biking and half kind of maintenance, of washing and polishing the bike, but also to stop the corrosion and, you know, do what you can to help the bike last a wee bit longer. I hope to have this bike for about 2 years probably before I upgrade to another bike. You get bored after a while. Maybe get a ZZR 1200 or something like this, you know, much bigger bike, physically bigger, that I can relax on a wee bit more if I'm still doing the kind of distances that I'm doing now. Although at some point I do want to own a VFR and also a TL1000. Maybe even another SV1000. That would be nice, but I can only have one bike at a time at the moment. I've not even got a garage to park in, so hopefully all that will change with the lottery.
Fuel injected and automatic choke, so it revs high when the bike is colder. Got a temperature gauge on telling me what temperature the engine's at.